me. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Hey guys, we're excited to announce that the You Are Creators podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy. GoDaddy is an awesome site where you can find the right name for your business. Hundreds of new domain names are available now, including .photography, .estate, and .guru. Create your website with GoDaddy's easy-to-use website builder. Even run your business anytime, anywhere with Microsoft 365 from GoDaddy. Visit GoDaddy.com and enter promo code CREATOR28 to save 28% on your order. Some limitations apply. See website for details.
This is Justin and Erica from You Are Creators, and we have a special guest, Dr. Himani Kulkarni. Did I get that right?
You did, yep.
Okay, perfect. We'll call you Dr. K for short.
Okay, so just to give the listeners a little background about who Dr. K is. Dr. K is a licensed physician in New York City. She's also a spiritual author and has been an avid practitioner of meditation, spirituality, and mind-body medicine for over 10 years. Dr. K is the creator of the website leveragingthought.com, where she shares insight and information that will give people tools to learn more about themselves and how to create the life they want. Dr. K is also a contributing author for Intent.com, Belief.net, and several health and wellness sites. We welcome Dr. K to You Are Creators podcast.
Hi, Justin and Erica. It's nice to be with you today.
Okay, can you just share some recent projects that you're working on right now?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I have a website, leveragingthought.com, and I have a blog there. It's everyone can go and check it out. I write new articles every week or every month. It kind of depends on how my time is, but I'm always adding material to the website. We're also working on some YouTube videos, and I'm also working on a book.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, let's get into it, okay? Dr. K, what is God? What is Source, and are we a part of it?
Yeah, so that's really the big question, and I think it's a great place to start because you kind of asked the biggest question there is what is God, and I think God to me it's an interesting word. I don't use that word. You'll notice in any of my writing. And the reason is I think that, when we say God, I think people define it in a lot of different ways. Like what God is to you could be very different from what God is to me. It also has a connotation with a lot of organized religions. So, for instance, some people may imagine God as being almost like a human, like a white male sitting on a cloud with a long beard and a cane. And that's a concept of God that some people have. And so, it doesn't really matter what you call it. You can say God, that's fine. But when I say it or when I use that term, what I'm really referring to is source energy or consciousness, right? So rather than something that's apart from us, something that is us and is an essential part of who we are. And so what I'm talking about when I say the word God is consciousness or really just energy, or universal spirit. Any of those will work.
Perfect.
Okay. So Dr. K, what do you think the meaning of our existence here on Earth is? Do you think that we all choose to come here and experience?
Absolutely. Well, one of my favorite teachers, as I always tell people, I'm an eternal student and an eternal teacher. So as I teach people all of my beliefs and things that I think will help them, I'm always learning as well. And one of the teachers that I have learned so much from over the years is Abraham Hicks, and I'm sure you guys have being in the spiritual realm have kind of been exposed to Abraham Hicks. But one of the things that they say that quotes are that I love is that the basis of your life is freedom, and the purpose of your life is joy. And to me, that's so simple and so profound. And I'll just repeat it because I think it has a lot of meaning. So the basis of your life is freedom. Absolute freedom is what, your consciousness is what you are when you're not in this physical body. You are consciousness, you're soul, you're light, you're eternal. But when you are in this physical body, you're still that, right? So it's the basis of your very life. And the purpose of your life is joy. It's really that simple.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay. So, does the universe actually support every belief that we have?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it does. In the sense that whatever you believe, you're creating. So the universe is nothing more than literally a hallucination. It's a reflection. It's like a mirror that reflects back to you, your beliefs, your expectations, and your underlying energy vibration. So whatever your energy vibration is, whatever vibes you're putting out in the universe, that's what you're getting back. It's like a mirror that's amplifying for you what you're putting out. So in the sense that if you look at it in that way, yeah, everything that we project out is what we're attracting back to us. And so you are being supported in every single way. But if you have negative belief systems, or if you have a negative expectation, then that too is you're creating your reality, whether it's a positive reality or a negative reality. So the universe is just a mirror, and it's reflecting back to you what you're putting out. So the key really is to become conscious of what vibration you're putting out and learn to modulate that in order to, change the outer reality. That's really the most efficient way to change your reality, is by changing the inside first.
So, how did you first get involved with this knowledge, Dr. K?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very gradual thing for me. In my tradition, my parents are from India, and there's a long history in Indian tradition of meditating. And so I started meditating when I was very young, like 12 or 13. And at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just I knew that it felt good to close my eyes and just be quiet for a while and quiet my mind. And then so I did that for many years, just kind of on and off, without really being committed to any sort of formal spiritual practice. But I think by the time I was kind of in my mid-20s, I became more and more interested in asking the type of questions that we're talking about in this interview, right? So, what is God? What is the purpose of my life here? Do I create my own reality? And as I started asking these questions, I started attracting back to myself a lot of material and books. And that's kind of how I got started, just reading everything I could get my hands on. And as I've developed my spiritual practice, a lot of my knowledge base comes from the books that I've read, the teachers that I learned from, and then as well as my own spiritual experiences, my own life experience. Now I've been meditating for so long that I can draw from some of my own sort of insights that I get when I'm meditating. So it's kind of an amalgam of all of those things.
Mm-hmm. So how long and how often would you say that we should meditate?
Yeah, so meditation is something that I teach as one of my key tools of how to begin a really good spiritual practice. So if anybody's interested in becoming more spiritual and interested in any sort of introspective, going inside, trying to determine what your beliefs are, raise your vibration, any of those things, the easiest and fastest way to start, in my opinion, is by meditating. So that's the way I started. And I think that it opened up a whole world of knowledge to me in all sorts of ways. It's also the quickest way to really shut down any sort of negative attraction patterns. So I have a whole, many blogs and articles and videos on, how to meditate. But to answer your question, how often and how long, the answer to that is every day. And as long as you want, I think to start out with, you can start by meditating 10 to 15 minutes. You don't really need to do it for longer than that. People get really antsy when they first sit down to meditate. Sometimes their mind is just racing and it's not really working for them. And, if you find that you're one of those people and you're just getting irritated, then don't do it for more than 10 or 15 minutes. That's really all you need to do. But you'll notice that if you do it consistently, and that's kind of the key, is that consistency every day. Do it in the morning, before you go to bed at night. I prefer the morning because that's when you're the freshest. And just sit there for 10 minutes and do it every day. And you'll notice after a few days, a week, a few weeks, whatever that time period is for you, you will notice, you'll start noticing a difference. You'll start noticing that your mind is calmer, that your breathing is deeper, all sorts of physical changes, in terms of your anxiety levels, your heart rate, all that stuff. And then you'll notice mental changes too as you become calmer, and you're kind of opening up that space in order to allow clarity and solutions to come to you. And I promise if you do it for long enough, you will start noticing those things.
Okay. So what are the purpose of mantras, and what are some of your favorite ones?
Yeah, so mantras are, again, in the old, like, Sanskrit traditions, in the old Indian Vedas, which are the spiritual texts of olden, Hindu and Buddhist tradition. Actually, the Vedas are Hindu tradition, excuse me. So, but in those, from thousands of years ago, people realized that everything is energy, right? And so sound is energy, light is energy, everything around us is energy. So all sounds have different energy frequencies associated with them. So really what a mantra is, it's a series of syllables or a series of words that have certain sound vibrations associated with those words. And that's really why they work, because certain sounds have very high frequencies if they're spoken or repeated in the right way. And they can be repeated in your mind, or they can be repeated out loud. They both have the same effect. But that's why they work. So when you kind of see that, cliche, person, that hermit on the mountain, and they're sitting cross-legged and they're meditating and they're saying Om, that's what that Om is. It's an Om sound. That's how you say it. But that sound has a very high energy frequency associated with it. So really the purpose of mantras is to, tune your vibrational energy frequency to the frequency of that mantra. And as you repeat the mantra over and over again, it can, number one, it tunes your frequency. So that's the first purpose of it. And the second purpose of it is that it helps you train your mind. So when you're trying to meditate, if you find your mind going to one thought and another, it's very hard to focus on one thought and clear your mind of any thoughts. So before you can clear your mind, it sometimes helps to focus on one thought or one sound. And so that mantra, the second purpose of it, is to help you focus, like a laser. You want to focus on that one sound. And then eventually, you can get to a state of thoughtlessness. But it's really to help with that. So those are kind of the reasons that we use mantras.
Okay.
Perfect. Some people say that mantras vibrate at 528 frequency hertz. And that frequency is, I think they call it the love and healing frequency.
No, and I've heard that as well. Certainly different sounds have different frequencies. So while I can't confirm, the 528, definitely I agree with that. There are certain frequencies, in certain sounds that have certain frequencies that are associated with different things, like different emotions, healing, clearing negative, energy blocks from different, chakras, for example. So yes, that definitely exists, and that's a whole science in and of itself too.
Okay, so Dr. K, do you believe that everything happens for our good?
Yeah, I do. And sometimes it's hard to say that. It sounds very Pollyanna-ish to say that everything happens for our good. So, for example, somebody would say, well, what if, I get cancer? How is that happening for my good? Or I got in this car accident. How is that for my good? So, the way that you can explain it, and it may not be that it's always in your higher good, in the sense that it shows you, it's a reflection or a magnification of what you're emitting, right? So if you're emitting a frequency of, let's say, chronic frustration, anger, resentment, and that persists for years and years, well, chronic anger then manifests in the body as, sometimes as a heart attack, for example. So the underlying emotions like anger, frustration, resentment, etc., manifest in the body as different diseases or dis-ease, the lack of ease in your body. So it's not that it's happening to punish, it's not that bad things happen to punish you or good things happen to reward you. It's just that it's merely a reflection of what it is, you're thinking and feeling and what your vibration is. So it's happening for your good, and it's also happening for you to be able to see what you're creating. And then if it gives you the chance to examine that, if you want to create something different, then you think a different thought, or you have a different belief. So in that sense, it's good because it's a mirror. So whatever's happening is a mirror, and in that sense, it's always happening for our greater good.
Okay. So how can we replace old negative thought beliefs with new ones?
Yeah, that's really the key. I mean, that's really the key question. So that's a great thing to talk about. And again, you could probably write a whole book on just this one question. But really, one of the easiest ways I've found is by figuring out what emotion you're having that's associated with that negative subconscious thought, right? So sometimes our subconscious thoughts are so chronic, and we're so used to thinking those thoughts that we don't even realize that they're very negative, or that we're having those thoughts, especially if they're subconscious or, kind of underneath the surface, and it's not something really blatant. So one of the easiest ways to catch yourself in a thought that's not vibrating at a high frequency, for example, is to pay attention to how you feel. And that's something that most people are able to put their finger on, and they're more able to identify a negative feeling than sometimes even a negative subconscious thought, right? So anytime you're not feeling good, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling powerless, okay, the key is to really pay attention, hone in on what it is you're feeling in that moment, and then put a label or identify what that feeling is. Let's say it's a feeling of powerlessness over something in your life. And then ask yourself, what is the thought or what is the belief that's causing me to feel this emotion? And then trace it back, right? So maybe you're feeling powerless because you're in a job situation that you really can't get out of and that you really hate, and it's just a very powerless feeling. Well, then identify that way the thought and the belief that's causing you to feel that emotion. And so then once you identify that belief or that thought pattern, then you can, what I like to do is, it's an exercise where you take that belief and you slowly you take small steps to change that belief to a more positive one. And so there's exercises you can do to switch negative beliefs to positive ones. But really the key is to identify the negative emotion first and figure out what's causing that negative emotion.
Okay. So what are some of the fastest ways that we can raise our vibration?
Yeah, so this is a question I get asked a lot, because I think everyone these days just wants everything fast, right? Like, we don't want to spend years and years, trying to change our vibration. Everyone's like, okay, I get what you're saying, Dr. K. Like, it's all about vibration. I have these negative vibrations, so, how can I, change it really quick? Or how can I, become more positive? So there's a lot of different things you can do to raise your vibration. Certainly, the foods we eat contribute to our vibrational frequency. Certainly things like exercise and deep breathing can help raise your frequency. But really, the one thing that I want to focus on for the purpose of today that I think, would be valuable for your listeners is one of the fastest ways to raise your vibration, especially if you're in a really negative place, is something we've already talked about earlier, which is meditation. This is something that I can verify with my own experience, is if you're in a really negative place where you just can't snap out of it and you're just not able to have positive, happy thoughts, and even if you try to do that, it just seems really fake, or it seems like you're, it's not coming from a sincere place where you can really feel that way. If you're in a really negative place, the easiest thing you can do to get out of that negative place is meditate. And why does that work? It works because when you meditate, you stop thought. And when you stop thought, you stop negative thought. And when you stop negative thought, you stop, for at least the time you're meditating, that negative attraction pattern. So law of attraction, as you guys know, is very powerful. And it's always bringing to you more and more thoughts, like the one that you're already thinking. So it gains those patterns gain momentum. So you have to find a way to stop the negative momentum. The easiest way to stop negative momentum is by meditating. And then once you get to that neutral place, then you can start, gaining positive momentum on something. But you got to get to the neutral place first.
Okay, so why is it important to do something that we love?
I think it's important to do what we love because that's where you're going to feel anytime that you're feeling enthusiasm and passion, you're feeling what source is feeling, right? You're feeling what your inner being is feeling. Your inner being is so happy, is so enthusiastic, is always on your side, is always rooting for you. And when you're enthusiastic and you're doing something with passion, you're in alignment with what your inner being is feeling and thinking. So the path of least resistance is always doing something that you feel passionate about, that you love doing, because that's going to raise your energy frequency. It's going to be much easier to be successful in that because you're really, you're going with the flow and you're taking the path of least resistance.
Uh-oh. All right. Perfect. You live in New York City, right?
Yes. Can you hear the siren?
Yes, we can hear it, Doctor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, okay. Everybody wants to know, what is my purpose in life? Why am I here? How can we find our purpose in life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I get asked a lot too, and I coach a lot of people on this. And sometimes people get frustrated by my answer because, everyone's looking for that magic sort of answer where this is what you should be doing, and this is like, you take this quiz and you figure out, this is my career that I should be pursuing or my path in life. And what I always tell people is that it's not a linear path and it's not really about the destination. So something that I said earlier is that, the purpose of your life is joy. That's really what it is. And if you're happy in the moment and you're following, this is one thing that, I don't know if you guys have heard of Bashar, but this is one thing that...
Oh, yes. I'm a big fan of Bashar.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the things that he says is that really resonates with me is, one of the ways you find your purpose is in any moment of all the choices you have in that moment of what you could do, pick the one that you're the most enthusiastic about, right? Always follow your enthusiasm in any given moment. So let's say in a moment you don't really have that many choices. You're sitting at work on your computer. You have to be doing something because, that's just the position that you're in. So you may not have, the choice to do anything in the world that you want, but you may have a choice to be happy in that moment, to do really good work, to sip on a delicious coffee, for example. So then do that. If that's the one choice that you have that you're the most enthusiastic about in that moment, then do that. And in every moment, if you follow your enthusiasm, if you do the thing in that moment that you're the most excited about, and you keep following the trail of that, it will eventually lead from one happy moment to the next, and it will get you to where you want to go. Because the universe knows exactly where you want to go, and it knows the easiest and fastest, most efficient path to get you there. And and it may not be the linear path that your mind can navigate or can, see. So you have to trust your instinct and you have to follow your passion in the moment and know that it's taking you to where you want to go in a really fast way. So that's the first way to start finding your life's purpose.
Okay, so follow your bliss, basically.
Exactly. Joseph Campbell said it best. Follow your bliss.
Okay, so once we find out our life's purpose, then most people want that soulmate. So we have a dating website, dateandgrow.com, and many people want to know how they can attract their soulmate.
Yeah, that's another good one. So you got your career in line. Now you're like gonna go for the perfect person, right? Yeah, and this is something that I coach people a lot on too, because this is a big deal for most people in their lives. How do I find my partner in life? And the one thing that I always tell people, first and foremost, is you have to fall in love with yourself, right? Be the person that you want to attract. So rather than looking outside of yourself and trying to make things happen through effort, going on another internet date, taking any of those action steps are okay. But if they're not inspired and if your energy's not in alignment first, you can meet a million people and they'll all be the wrong people. You know what I mean? But if your energy is in alignment, you will be not even thinking about it and bump into your soulmate at Starbucks. You know what I mean? So it's not really about the amount of people you're meeting or about the amount of action steps you're taking. It's about looking within yourself and getting your own energy in alignment first, and being the person and being at the frequency of the person that you want to attract. So, for example, if you're looking to attract someone that's smart and attractive and, kind and loyal, well, then start by working on those qualities in yourself and nurturing those qualities in yourself and seeing yourself that way. And as you begin to see yourself that way, then you'll be resonating that frequency and attract someone of a like frequency. And I will say, too, that there's actually, this topic goes much deeper, and there's actually a great article on this on my website, which I think you guys mentioned, leveragingthought.com. But if you scroll down, or if you do, go to the search bar, you can find that article. But it's all about how to find your soulmate. So people might find that useful if they're looking for more information.
Perfect. Okay. So, do you believe that there is at least one person for everybody on planet Earth? What do you believe?
I believe that there's more than one person. There's infinite people. The universe never stops. Your ship can never sail. If one ship sails, there's another ship and another ship and another ship. So the universe has unlimited, infinite possibilities to match you up with, any number of soulmates. And so a soulmate is really someone, it's mating with your own soul, right? So it's someone who's on the same frequency as you are, at a higher level, and someone who literally, that you potentially share a soul with.
Right.
And we can share, if you believe in oversouls, for example, there can be many, many people with the same oversoul. So, yeah, there's definitely such a thing as soulmates. But I think that, sometimes, the way we think of soulmates it's not like it's just one person. A soulmate can be someone that, helps you to grow and learn, and sometimes it can be a negative experience or a positive experience, and those people can be soulmates too. But, the one thing I like to stress to people is, it's not like if you don't meet that one person or you miss that one opportunity. No, the universe has limitless opportunities. So as soon as you get on that right frequency, you're emitting the frequency of what you want to attract, you will manifest that soulmate, and it's never too late.
Perfect. Now, to my favorite subject in the world.
Yes.
My favorite subject is the law of attraction. I am in love with this knowledge, and it feels like I have always known this knowledge. So, do we actually create our reality? If so, what are some small ways we can prove this?
Yes, but with the caveat, yes, we create our own realities.
Okay.
But we're not doing it from the level of the conscious mind. The mind cannot, so, I know a lot of your readers probably know this, but I think people that, or your subscribers, but I think, one of the misunderstandings of the law of attraction is if you think about $1 million all day long, you'll attract $1 million. Or,
right.
If you think about that, nice fancy sports car, you'll attract that nice fancy sports car. And it's not quite that way. So we do create our own reality, but it's not the conscious mind that has the ability to create circumstances or events. It's your higher self, your inner being, your soul that's actually creating those infinite realities, right? All we're doing when I say I, I'm speaking about, the body and the conscious mind. All I'm doing is tuning to the frequency of the reality that I want to experience. Does that make sense? So,
it does.
Yeah, so we all have, there's a millions of different frequencies that we could be tuned into. And all of those frequencies, there's a reality associated with each one of those frequencies.
Right.
Billions of realities that we...
String theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Billions of realities that we could be playing in. Now, we're not consciously creating those realities. Those realities are being created by our higher self, or our soul self. But what we do is by modulating our frequency and our vibration, we're modulating ourselves to match the frequency of the reality we wish to experience. So we are creating our own reality, but it's your higher self that's doing the creating. All you're doing using your mind is tuning to what it is you want to experience.
Right. So, just like Bashar said, anything is possible because there's endless frequencies, right? And based on the frequency that we focus on, that's the reality that we walk into.
Yes. And you don't even have to focus on the specifics of that reality, although you could. If you just tune into the general vibration or the feeling place of what you want to experience, your higher self knows exactly what it is that you want. And so you don't have to keep asking the universe or focusing on that specific thing. What you attract could be even better than what your conscious mind could have come up with. So really the key is to focus on the feeling place and find the feeling place of that vibration and let the specifics, flood into your experience automatically, and they will.
Okay. So one of my favorite things to do is to hear and read manifestation stories. Do you have any manifestation stories that you would like to share with us?
I have so many. That's such a but I have like so many things that happen just on a daily basis that are like little coincidences. And they happen so often now that I don't even really think about it anymore. But then sometimes looking back, I'm like, oh, well, that was a coincidence. It'll be something as simple as I'll be thinking about about someone that I worked with, for example, a few years ago. This happened to me just last week. I was thinking about, someone that I worked with a few years ago that I really enjoyed working with, and I was looking to do some new projects. And out of the blue, that person emailed me and said, hey, we have a freelance position available. Would you like to do lunch? And within 2 days, I did lunch and I had like a contract.
Wow.
Yeah, to be working with this person. And it's someone that the week before I just popped in, their name popped into my mind. And so that's an example of a coincidence. And I don't really believe in coincidences. I think it's an incident that we co-create.
Right.
And so the way that and the universe has millions of different synchronicities and coincidences like that are for you in every moment, right? You guys know this. And so every moment, those opportunities are just ready to pop. And all you have to do is be receptive to it and be open to it. And those things happen automatically because we're all co-creating together. So, as you open yourself up to these possibilities, they're already there, but they reveal themselves much faster. And so I have examples like that happen all the time, but that's one.
That's awesome. I love that. So what are some simple tips that we can use to make the law of attraction work for us?
Well, I think the main thing is to understand, and I know you guys know this, I think it's just to understand what law of attraction means, right? So we kind of already talked about it, but it's really understanding that everything is energy, everything is vibration. And the way to make law of attraction work for you is to understand that all of your thoughts have an energy frequency associated with them. And the way you can figure out quickly what frequency you're at is by the way you feel. So your feelings and your emotions are like the gas gauge in your car. So if your gas gauge, is trending towards empty, for example, then you wouldn't sit there and cry, oh, my gas tank is empty. You would just go put gas in your car because you understand that the gauge is just kind of like an indicator, right? So your emotions similarly, and this is something that Abraham Hicks says as well, is your emotions are just an indicator of your frequency. So if you're feeling powerless or depressed, you're at a very low frequency. So you don't have to feel bad about that. You don't have to feel bad about feeling bad. All you do is you recognize, you say, oh, okay, well, I'm not feeling good, so I'm not, I'm at a low frequency and I'm attracting things that are probably not that great. So then you use your emotions as a gauge to see where your frequency is at. And as you improve your emotional set point, you're improving your vibration, and your frequency. And as your frequency raises, then you'll start attracting, that's what law of attraction is, you'll start attracting other circumstances, people, and events that are at that new frequency. So it's really the most simple tip to make law of attraction work for you, to understand that emotions are everything. They're your gauge and your indicator of where you're at. So you got to modulate your emotions and then trace it back to your thoughts and beliefs.
Okay, so money, cash, wealth, abundance. How can we attract more of this in our life? I believe the more wealth you have, the more freedom you have. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Dr. K?
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Some people say money is the root of all evil. I don't believe that to be true.
Nah. I don't believe that.
No, I think that comes from a belief that, when we attract wealth to ourselves, do we deserve it? So there's a whole deserving quality and underlying belief that I find that a lot of people have around wealth and abundance, and it's actually a limiting belief that keeps them from attracting a lot of the abundance that they seek. So everyone says that they want to be more abundant, but at least from a lot of the clients that I coach, when we look deeper into what their beliefs around abundance are, there's a lot of limiting beliefs, like they don't deserve that abundance, or they don't see the channel that it can come through, or, for example, they feel that people that have a lot of wealth got it in a bad way, or doing things that are not good for the world, and so they don't respect the people that have. So people have a lot of mixed beliefs about wealth and abundance, right? So you simultaneously want that, but then you also resent people that seem to have a lot of wealth. So you got to clean all that up and really get clear on what your beliefs are around wealth and abundance. And you gotta, you gotta really look at people that have a lot, and you have to. Does that spark envy or jealousy in you, or does that spark let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Is that something?
Motivation?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Does that motivate you, right? So clean up all those beliefs around wealth and abundance, and then know that you're deserving of it. I think that's one of the keys too. And then as you kind of clean your energy around it, then, you can look for small ways that abundance is coming into your life. So one of the things I tell people, and this sounds kind of cheesy, but it's a good place to start, is, who pays for the air that we breathe, right? Who pays for the sun that comes up every day and the sunlight that warms your skin? So those are things that you have infinite abundance and wealth around that people take for granted. So start noticing one of the easiest ways to switch your vibration around wealth and abundance is to start noticing the small things around you that already make you abundant, right? Whether it's the warm bed that you have to sleep in at night, the good food that you're eating, the loving people around you. Those are all like symbols and things around abundance that we sometimes take for granted. And as you notice that more and focus on that more, you'll start to see that grow in your life. So that's one of the easiest ways to start.
Okay, so I want to end the interview with a really important topic. A lot of people have these goals and they have dreams, but many people have been faced with this fear and doubt. And I think even the people who are actually living their dream or doing their dream job have had a moment where they're fearful, or they have doubt, some type of doubt. How do you think we can overcome this doubt or this fear?
Yeah, I think that doubt and fear comes from a place of, lack of security with self. So, and it's also a lot of people that have doubts and fears. A lot of it is based on, how will other people perceive me, or how will this make me look if I fail, right? So what I find is when I talk to people that have a lot of doubts and fears, and we kind of dig deeper into what the root cause of that doubt or the root cause of that fear, one of the things that comes up really often, and it's a lot of different things, but just to focus on one thing that I see really a lot, is people are worried about what other people will think, right? What will other people think if they know that, that I'm into all this like law of attraction, spirituality stuff? They might think I'm weird. What will other people think if I fail? What will my family think if I completely switch careers and do something different? So a lot of it is based around what other people will feel and what other people think. and what the perceptions of other people will be. And when you let a lot of that go, and when you start focusing on what makes you happy, a lot of those doubts and fears will kind of subside. So that's one thing, is to really examine, where that doubt and fear is coming from. And if it's coming from how you think other people will respond to you, or, how other people will view you, then that's something that you have to sort out, because you're then attracting that to yourself, right? So that's just one aspect to look at. And then I like to go deeper into, what's causing those doubts and what's causing those fears, and how can you change some of those beliefs, those underlying beliefs that you may have. But that's one belief that I see a lot.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so everyone, that means don't focus on what everyone else is thinking about you. Set those goals, go for those dreams, and just keep moving. Don't worry about what other people think, because if you continue to do that, then you will continue to have doubt and fear. Go for it, guys.
Exactly. And everyone has haters, so.
Right.
That's right, Dr. K. You know what? Thank you so much for being on YouAreCreators. And also, congratulations on the new baby.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
From mommy to mommy.
It's the best thing in the world. And Mother's Day was just yesterday, so we had a wonderful time celebrating. It was my first Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Dr. K.
Thank you.
This is Justin and Erica from YouAreCreators, and we support your dreams.